Yeah. You already know. You heard that sound. We going back in the days again. This is your host, Dante Bailey. Here to talk that good shit. That good old good shit, you know? Yeah, today's a different kind of day. I've been taking my time on this particular episode. This episode here is entitled Love is Love. If you're a first time listener, maybe you decided to skip ahead and decide this title was right for you, but this is a podcast called Back in the Days, where I go back into my memory bank and I try to unpack some of what life was like, you know, before things just got so complicated. Adulting is a motherfucker, and 2020, man, they done hit us with a different kind of curveball. You know, bills and love and self-esteem issues, all different types of things, but it wasn't always this complicated. So I feel like sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards, and that's what we do on this podcast right here. I just go back to my memory bank, and hopefully, you know, if you enjoy the stories you enjoy and you resonate with some of the feelings and the ways that I unpack my own experiences, maybe it makes you go back into your own memory bank and think about how you got to where you are, serve as some sort of healing in your life, you know? But this is the episode. I would say I hope this episode doesn't get me into trouble. But you can't get in trouble with somebody who you can't get in trouble with. I'm a single man, and I don't know, man. I've said it a couple times before in my other intros, but I just recently experienced a unexpected breakup after 6 years of relationship, co-living with a partner, and you know, the expectation of starting a family within the next year and a half. That type of shit takes a toll on you, man. I mean, honestly, it really does. It's kind of a wake-up call sometimes that you don't have all of the answers. And that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers, you know? You don't have to. You would rather live in your truth than try to break into the space of trying to force something into being something that it's not, you know? And I've never been the type of person to harbor resentment or be bitter about anything. I like to lead with love and close with love. So for any experiences that I talk about in this podcast, in this episode, just know it's all love. That's all it's ever been, you know? Because I'm a lover, not a fighter. And I look forward to love again. So let's do it. Here we go. Love is Love, episode 4. So, do you remember the first time that you ever fell in love? You know? Or better yet, do you remember the first time that you ever liked someone? Or if you want to take it a step even further, fellas, do you remember the first time someone expressed that they liked you? You know? I think before you can unpack love, which is a huge topic to even talk about, because I'll make it very clear. I don't think that we're put on this earth for anything other than love in some capacity, you know? Love isn't always directly attributed to a romantic dynamic, right? But in so many ways, we're always trying to share love. We first learn love in the home from our parents, you know? I first learned love from my mother and my father, you know? I remember sneaking up into the bed with them. They was sleeping, trying to mind their fucking business, and I'm sitting there cuddled up right in between, like, Make space for me. Thanks. Want to feel warm, you know? And I'm a Taurus, so I know as a kid I was a little cuddly little motherfucker. For real though, you know. So I'm definitely a big cuddly ass nigga now. So, but it's because of that introduction to love and love being welcome. Like there was always hugs going on, you know. I used to hug my dad, I used to hug my mom. I used to kiss my mom on the cheek, and I would do this thing we called it a spooty. It's really, I guess, they call it a raspberry, or like on the Cosby Show, they called it Zerbert. But literally, like I would go up on my mother's cheek, and instead of kissing her, I would put my lips on the cheek, and I would go. I just did that on my hand, but I would literally like spit all over her face. It was probably the most disgusting, annoying thing ever. But shit, she let me do it, and that was the way that I showed my love. And even though I'm damn near 30 years old, I will be going back in town for Thanksgiving. And I promise you, when I pull up on my mother and I give her a hug, I'm going to go right on her face and I'm not going to kiss it. I'm going to spit all over her face. Because it's only proper that I do, because that is how I express my love to my mother. You know, but you only see love coming from those type of spaces, especially if you don't have like sisters or, you know, anything. Like I had one girl cousin who was like older than me, and she wasn't really, you know, it's not like we was hugging or no shit or like kiss on the cheek or anything, like nothing. I probably would have seemed more weird, you know. I grew up with all brothers, like in the house, just me and my two older brothers. Affection was a weird thing in my house, I guess, because it was so much testosterone in the house all the time, you know. Everything was a competition to eat, a competition to get to the bathroom first, a competition to win in video games, a competition to win in sports, a competition to outsmart each other, a competition. It was just boys being boys. And my father and even my mother was kind of a tomboy in some regard. Like I don't even remember ever seeing my parents be affectionate. So although they were affectionate with me, right, I never saw them be affectionate with each other. So the idea of like a relationship seemed more like a logical kind of connection to me growing up than it did physical. You know, it was kind of like, well, I guess it makes sense. Like it's a good business transaction. You make money, they make money. You guys are good co-parents. Y'all make it work. Boom, boom, boom. But like, I never saw no real like passion in my parents' relationship. It was almost like they was just friends and business partners or something. If I'm just keeping it a stack, you know, from what I could tell. I think I've only seen my parents kiss once ever. And I remember when it happened, it was confusing. It was like, the hell was that? Did they just fucking kiss? That's weird. I don't know if it's just because they just didn't believe in PDA or if they just didn't actually show affection. They had to have shown affection. They done had 2 whole kids together. I don't know. Hey, I didn't see it if it was happening. But I'll never forget the first time someone told me that they liked me, that I remember at least. I don't know if it would have happened before then, but I was in the 3rd grade. I had just moved to New Carrollton, Maryland. I was at Lamont Elementary School. And there was a girl in my class named Crystal. And I'll never forget, she was taller than me. And she used to wear these little pink and light blue Air Force Ones. And she had curly hair with the edges laid. And she was light skinned or whatever. And she had a best friend in the class named like Jasmine or something like that. Everybody was named Jasmine or Ashley or Brittany back in elementary school. I don't know what the world was doing. We was producing a lot of those, but that was everybody's name. And I remember we was at recess and I was the new kid, and I guess I was hanging out with these other kids who everybody was thought was popular. And I always made friends real magnetic. And I guess we played football together. So there was a kid named Pops. And it's funny because Pops was everybody's cute little something that everybody liked, you know. He I don't know, he had cornrows. He looked like little Bow Wow. I think he had earrings. It was like, you know, he was the little cute kid that everybody wanted or whatever the case. And he definitely liked girls at his age. He probably had some influences super early. He was like, yeah, man, you know, girls. I was naive. I didn't think I liked girls yet or anything like that. But I just remember that girl, Jasmine, came up to me maybe in like the second week of school, maybe first. I don't even know. We was at recess. And she came up and she said, do you like Crystal? Crystal likes you. Crystal likes you. And I'm like, I don't know. Because in my head, it was a purely logical transaction. Like, I don't know her. Why would I know if I like her? I didn't care about if she looked cute or anything like that. Now, in hindsight, I guess, thinking back, like, I probably did think she was cute, but I didn't even know what that meant. Like, I was just like, she's pretty, but everybody's pretty. Because I was the sweetest little fucking kid in the world. I was innocent. I had a heart of fucking feathers and gold and cupcakes. Okay? So I really did see the beauty in everybody. Like, nobody was ugly to me. So I was just like, I don't know. And that was about as far as it ever went. But I do remember, I'm pretty sure Pops had got a little hot because it was kind of like, oh, there's another kid here who people like. And I remember it was shortly after that girl had told me, I shouldn't say that girl, that Crystal, I guess they asked if I liked Crystal. And I was like, I don't know. It was like the next day or the day after something, you know, I was real they had on like little cool clothes and shit. They was wearing like fucking Iversons and Jordans and jeans and whatever was probably hot back then. They was in fashionable clothes. And I was a Kmart kid, so I had on a little sweatsuit. I was comfortable. I probably had on some shoes from Payless. And I remember the day this thing happened that I'm about to say. I had on a green sweatpants and a matching green crew neck sweatshirt or whatever. No logos, no nothing on it. It was just a sweatsuit. And we were standing in line to go inside or whatever the case may be. And somebody behind me in line pulled down my pants. And I had on these little tighty whitey ass underwear. But they weren't white. They was like, it made it even worse. They were like color blocked colored. So like, you know, one patch of it was blue, the other one was red, the other one was green. And I was so embarrassed and I got choked up and I felt like I wanted to cry. When I was little, I always was like ready to cry when somebody did something mean to me because I was on some shit like, why would you do that? And I pulled up my pants so fast and I was so embarrassed. And I remember looking back in line and Pops was just sitting there laughing. And I could tell he orchestrated it, but he had somebody else do it. I don't know if it was a dare or a bet or whatever. But I was just like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, why would he do that? And I guess as I got older now, you know, you realize it's because of like jealousy. And it's like, if you can't beat them, join them. So what ended up, it was like I was introduced to them being mean to me first, but I was so used to moving around from school to school, couldn't nobody get under my skin. So once they realized they couldn't really hurt my feelings for real, they just became my friend. And the next thing you know, Pops ended up being my best friend, which was probably one of those weird little things. Like, why would you make that guy your best friend? That's for a different episode. That's going to be on my episode about friendships. But for now, it had to do with the fact that this girl liked me. And I didn't even like girls yet. Like, I remember my uncle asked me one time. My uncle used to ask me all the time. My Uncle Mike. That's the one who I had talked about in the previous episode. He'd always be like, what's up, player? But he'd be like, shorty, what it do, shorty? You getting them little girl, you getting the ladies, shorty. What's up with you? You like girls yet? I'm like, no, not yet. I was the cutest little innocent thing. No, not yet. Nah, you don't gotta rush yourself. Take your time. It's gonna come a time though, you a Bailey. You know how we do, them Bailey boys. It's gonna happen. I just, it was a logical transaction to be like, I'm not old enough to like girls yet. I don't know what it means. I'm not ready. I'm confused. But somehow with boys, it seems like everybody tries to grow you up way faster than you want to grow yourself up. And thank God for my ambition and my sense of self. I say ambition in regard to me being able to take the initiative to make my own decisions, not to be in a rush to do anything that I didn't want to do. That's one thing that I was very, very copacetic with all through my childhood. You wasn't going to get me to do some shit I didn't want to do. So if I didn't like girls yet, then I don't like them. And it's that simple, And I remember it was weird because my best friend when I first moved to New Carrollton was my next door neighbor. My friend Jasmine. It was my first real best friend for real. We used to do everything together. Can Jasmine come out and play? Because even though she was a girl, she was a tomboy. She was rough and she was rough and stuff. You know what I'm saying? She could play football with the best of them, stiff arm you, moss you. It didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? She was into video games, and she wasn't like any girl I had ever met before. She was with the shits. She was with all the shits. And she had these big bucky teeth. And I remember, I don't know, she used to wear these little short. I don't know. I think my parents had this idea in their mind that she was fast, which I didn't understand because I was like, fast? She's like a whole nigga. You know what I'm saying? She like a little dude or whatever, But I think she was the first person I ever started to like. And I mean, I didn't like her in a way that was romantic, though. I just liked her. If a relationship meant coexisting with each other, I knew that, I could coexist with her in a space forever because I could talk all day about anything with her. I could go do anything. I could go on any adventure with her. I felt safe with her. It was weird. I wasn't a neighborhood kid, but with her, we could go anywhere. I knew if I ran into a group of niggas or some shit like that and they didn't know who I was or whatever like that, shit, she'd probably fight with me. She'd beat them up before I did anything. She'd probably be beating them up worse than I could. I couldn't fucking fight yet. You know what I'm saying? So it was weird. It was a weird dynamic, but I just remember that I liked her in some sort of sense. I didn't even know what that sense was. And I knew it must have been because she liked Little Bow Wow and Little Romeo and shit. And I used to get so jealous. What do you like them for? It was annoying to me. Of course you do. Groupie. But in my adult ass hindsight, I think I just maybe wanted her to like me. I don't know. And then one day I found out that she did. It's weird. I remember she used to always make these little comments about liking my brother who was 3 years older than us and all this other type of shit. But it never felt like she actually meant it. It felt more like she was trying to test me. I don't know. It's weird because we were in the fucking 3rd and 4th grade, but it always felt more like she was telling me that she liked my brother to see how I would react. And I just, even as a little kid, I kept it G. I was just kind of like, well, that's your business. I don't got nothing to do with me. It was nobody ever taught me this, but in my mind, I already knew. It was well, if you choosing, then choose up. That's your business. That don't got nothing to do with me. You hear me? And one day, she randomly told me that she liked me. And it was this whole big dramatic thing. And she was speaking in our secret language that we made up there really wasn't a secret language. It was just her putting a B before every single letter, or every single word that she was trying to say. So she ended up basically saying real slow and dramatically, bye, bike, boo, which meant I like you. And then she ran away as fast as she could because she was embarrassed or some shit. And I was supposed to like chase after her and come back and say, Jasmine, no, it's okay. I like you too. But I didn't do that. I was standing there like, well, that was awkward. And so was born my lack of passion, which seemed to be an issue throughout almost every single relationship in my life, which is weird because from the outside looking in, I don't think anybody would ever question whether I lack passion, but my partners have. And I don't know. I think that's something that I'm here to unpack in this episode right now because I'm trying to figure it out, you know? The next person I remember liking was a girl at my private school, and I went to Catholic school. It's funny, too, because I went back and scooped her later on. You know, I had to do that. But when I was in private school, there was this one I didn't like. Now, I told y'all I don't like white girls. No disrespect, once again, you know. But it was kind of ingrained in my head from young. Like, don't bring no white girl home, man. You know, like, and my parents wouldn't have been mad, honestly, realistically. If I would have brought home a white girl, they just would have laughed about it and been like, well, I guess we're going to accept this white girl into our family. It's cool, you know what I'm saying? But it had nothing to do with a hate for white people, but more a love for blackness, you know, a real in-depth pride. Like, I was taught early on that black love is like a revolutionary act, and it's something that I believed in, you know. I probably didn't even understand why I felt so strongly about it even as a kid, but I think it's just the idea that, you know, your mother is black, and like, you know, we didn't see, I done learned about the Panthers and all the fucked up things that society has done to black people since I was little. So I'm kind of like, nah, man, I gotta start a family with a black woman, you know? So when I was in Catholic school, it wasn't too many of us there, but there was a few. And out of the few that was there was one girl. Tell you what, boy, this girl, Brianna Miles. The first time I ever felt a feeling in my heart, I first got there in 5th grade, and I seen her, and she was she was skinny as hell. I mean, a toothpick. She was skinny, and she had braces, and I could tell you every color braces she ever had. She had pink braces, she had teal braces, she had green braces at one point. I was all in her mouth. I didn't care. I liked her. I was like, yo, you was... she used to pull her little hair back into a ponytail. Sometimes in the middle of class, she would pull out this big hair tie holder or whatever and let her hair flow out and put it around her wrist. Boy, you couldn't tell me nothing. I was in love. She had no clue. I didn't even know how to tell her. I had no clue how to tell her. The only person in my life who knew that I liked a girl at this point was my cousin Rashid, who was my best friend. Like, my cousin Rashid and I talked about everything, and I was just like, I don't know, whatever the little kid version of I love her. Like, he knew it was love at first sight. I was like, bro, I don't know what the fuck it is, but I'm gonna marry this girl. This girl had theme music, bro. I didn't know what these feelings were. I didn't know what to do with them. I was just like, yo, like, I want to be around. I just want this girl to smile. Like, can she smile? Like, can you be happy? If she ever had like even slightly bad day, I just wanted to like hug her or something. But because I was so infatuated with her, I was afraid to talk to her on any. She would talk to me, and I would try to say, hey, but I would keep conversations so minimum. I would never say anything. I would never be on. I was scared, shitless. Like, I just didn't want to say the wrong thing. So to me, based on my self-esteem issues, it was much easier to just say nothing and not be noticed at all than to say something and jump out there and become vulnerable. So I just prayed that nobody else ever showed an interest in her. And there was one other guy there, a dude named Jonathan, who he was pretty cool. He was a cool ass nigga. He was from the city, and he played football too for a team called Peppermill. I played for Lanham at the time, and you know, he was getting girls, but he could have any girl he wanted in that school. And I'm pretty sure he liked her, and he never said anything. But if he wanted her, he could have had her. Like, it was the first time I ever looked at somebody else, and I was just like, he's better than me. There's no way in the world I'm gonna. If he likes her, it's a wrap, you know? I remember thinking to myself, like, how do I just get this girl to notice me? And then when I realized that I wasn't going to get her to notice me because I just didn't have the confidence, then it was, how do I get her not to notice anybody else? And then I started to recognize that she wasn't noticing nobody because she probably was on my type of time where she just didn't like nobody anyway. Or maybe she had her own little self-esteem stuff. She had something, you know, she had her best friend. She had a best friend named Deanna who was like, they was on joke time 24/7. Like, Deanna was like Tiffany Haddish in 2000. Like, nigga was off the chain. She was wild, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I don't know. I used to see them and I was just like, damn, man, like, how can I get Brianna? Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you like this, and I've been ranting for a minute, but it's just remembering that first crush is different. So I have to get that shit off. I have to get my shit off. Like, when I saw Brianna, I literally used to hear the remix to Ignition in my head, you know. Bounce, 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 bounce. I know y'all don't think we about to support R. Kelly. No, we're not doing that. But you know the song. You know the song. I don't know what the hell that song was even about, but I know I heard it and I felt good. I would hear that song come on in the morning, on the radio, on the way to school, and I couldn't think of anybody but Brianna. It was wild. So the irony in it is that, to skip ahead, when I got to high school, I ended up going to a different school. I switched out of private school, which I talked about in the previous episode, and went back to public school. And one of the reasons I was the most sick about it was because I was so persistent in my not being vulnerable that I was planning to wait until 8th grade when we were finally going to leave, and I knew I wasn't going to have to see her every single day, and probably tell her on the very last day, I like you and I've always liked you. And she probably would have been pissed at me and been like, why the fuck would you wait until the very last minute? I don't know what be wrong with boys, man. Like, we're just stupid. Like, we're dumb. Like, that's not logical at all, but that was my plan. And then I got sent to public school again. And I just was like, oh no, I missed my chance. So when I got to high school, much more confident by now and much more experienced by now and stuff. I was probably a junior in high school at the time or something. And I had a little bit of skin on my nose. You know, I was able to move around and do what I felt like doing on my own. Maybe I was even a senior. I don't remember. All I know is that Facebook was out and I happened to see her on Facebook and she was playing soccer and I recognized the field that she was at. And the field was, I shit you not, in my neighborhood, like 5 minutes from my house walking. I said, get the fuck out of here. No fucking way. This is destiny. So one day I ended up walking down the street. I seen her mother. I was confident. I was a different nigga by now. I wasn't that little fifth grade nigga no more. I walked up to her mother. I was like, hey, how you doing? I don't know if you remember me. My name is Dante. I used to go to St. Jerome's. And she was like, yeah, I think I remember you. Your face looks familiar, this and that. I was like, yeah, I just wanted to come up here and see Brianna and surprise her. So Brianna finished up practice and came to the side. She was like, Dante? And I was like, what's up? And she came and gave me like this big, huge hug and everything like that. And I just was honest. It's probably one of the smoothest little things I done. I was just like, yeah, man. I said, I saw you on Facebook and saw that you had practice over here. I live around the corner. I wanted to just come and see you, And I asked her mother for permission to talk to her. I said, is it okay if we talk for a couple of minutes over here? And she said, yeah, fine. Just meet me at the car. So her mother went ahead. Mother was kind of blushing, I think she could tell what type of time I was on and the way I moved. She fucked with the fact that I was moving like a grown ass man as a kid, or as a teenager, I should say. And she went to the car and left us to talk alone for maybe a good 20 minutes or something. Real nigga shit. And I just told her the truth. I was like, man, I've always liked you forever. I liked you. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, I just felt like this was a second chance to just see you for real and talk to you and get your number or whatever. And I was just like, yo, if I didn't take this opportunity, I was going to regret it for the rest of my life. And she was blushing and happy and everything like that. And she gave me her number and we started talking. We ended up actually dating. We dated for 4 months. And that was one of those things funny when I went back and told my mother what I did. She was like, damn, you reached way back, didn't you? You went back to fucking 5th grade. I was like, hey man, I was about to miss that opportunity. I'm not even gonna lie. I love this girl. She didn't even know it. But yeah, that's just a funny little story or whatever, But that was the very first girl that I ever liked. And I skipped ahead a little bit to when we dated, because by the time we dated, I had already been dating and everything like that. But it's just I got my second opportunity for my first crush, That's pretty wild, But going back, I think Brianna was that first experience, but I had went to high school and really, when I went to public school, I had hella people. And it's funny because some of these people then probably might listen to this podcast. I might need to switch up some names or whatever and everything like that. But I just remember going to 8th grade and it was a couple of girls who I was looking at and I was just like, damn, this is the world, huh? This is bad. And there was this one girl who, she was just so interesting to me because she was like a mystery. She had a twin and a twin brother or whatever. And it was weird because she was just so enamored by my hair, but never in a way that she ever disrespected my hair, nothing like that. She would just touch it and look at me in the eyes and shit. And I don't know if she was flirting or what, but I was interested. I was like, damn, you're gorgeous as hell, girl. What the hell? And then I started walking home with her every day when we went to high school. And she was one of my first little best friends. I don't know how I did. I feel like when I used to like somebody, they would end up in the friend zone. And I don't know if it was that I would put them there or they would put me there. But I need to figure that out. I need to keep digging in my memory to figure out how that used to happen, because I specifically remember this girl kind of made me her best friend. And I don't know if it was because she was just trying to get to know me naturally or whatever, but I just know that she was going through some real shit in her life that I couldn't relate to because I was so innocent, And unfortunately, her mother had died, and she was young, and that I can't even imagine how you deal with shit like that. That's a whole different type of stress, at that age. So I didn't expect to get all but so close, I guess, but it was cool. It was cool to dream, you know, like, yeah, man, but then again, at the same time, going to high school, the pickings was wide. I had never seen as many girls before in my life. I was like, yo, I like girls now for sure. So that's not the problem. The problem is getting a girl to like me. Because I was still that same old doofy Dante with the stupid afro. And I was definitely out there. I wasn't getting no play. I still was a Kmart kid, didn't really know how to dress, didn't have no swagger. My oldest brother had all the swag in the world. He always had girls. You know, and my middle brother, he got by. You know, I don't know what he did to get girls, but he got by. He was doing pretty good, I guess. But I was new to the game. I didn't know what the hell to do. And my cousin Rashid, he didn't know what the hell to do at the time either. It's not like he had a girlfriend or girls liked him or anything like that. So we was both just kind of like, well, I guess we'll figure it out one day. And I never forget, there was a girl who I had gym class with. And I had seen her, and I had never seen a girl like this beautiful before. But what attracted me to her wasn't even the fact that she was just beautiful as hell. It was the fact that she was goofy as fuck. Like, she was clumsy. She was always tripping and falling and fucking accidentally dropping some shit or whatever. She had this weird kind of inside humor that I noticed, but I was silent on it, you know? And I just kept seeing her, and I never said anything or whatever. And it's funny because in gym, she was always like last to the pack. Like, her and her friends used to just walk around the track when we were supposed to be like jogging and shit like that. Like, they were just like, fucking, we're not doing this shit. And but her little run was so stupid. Now, I do hope she listens to this shit. And I don't know if she was. She busy as hell now. But if she hears this shit, she gonna laugh because she already knows. You know what I'm saying? We still got a unspoken, very close, real connection today. But the person I'm talking about is Zayna. And this is my first love. And it's funny because I had seen her in this gym class, and then all of a sudden I was on MySpace that night, and MySpace was popping. You know what I'm saying? My cousin Rashid helped me make a MySpace. It was a thing, you know. It was like the first time being on the internet actively. Like, this is, everybody's on this thing, you know. But I still don't think we necessarily understood what it was quite yet, or what social media as a whole would be. And I remember one day I came home and got on MySpace, and I had a message, and it was like a new friend request and a message from Zayna, and she was just like, "Hi, you're the boy from gym class," and she was like, "You're cute," and I was like, I'm what? Because keep in mind, I had been peeped her. Like, I mean, I was like, God damn. Did she just reach out to me and tell me I'm cute? Doofy Dante with the low self-esteem and the big afro? What the actual fuck just happened? I couldn't believe it. Next thing you know, we started talking. I was like, thanks. Like, you're beautiful. Like, whatever the case may be. And we started talking about shit. And it was like, we just clicked. Like, we had everything in common. Like, everything. Next thing you know, we start hanging out at school. We talking on the phone every single day. Then we talking all night. It's like we was texting. When we wasn't texting, we was on the phone. We wasn't on the phone. We was on, I guess back then it wasn't even texting, because, you know, they used to charge you for the text messages back in the day. And text messages would actually go against your minutes. So, oh shit, we about to go way back. Do y'all remember they used to have minutes on the phone? Like, Nowadays, that's not even a thing. You just talk unlimited. I think only old people be having them plans with the minutes and shit and save you a couple bucks. But literally everything is unlimited. But you had to talk what was called sprint to sprint. If I had sprint and you had sprint, like she had sprint. So we was good to talk anytime because that shit wasn't going to run up that bill. We could talk sprint to sprint. But if someone had Verizon and I had sprint, them minutes was running up. And if I talked up a certain amount of minutes, that bill was going to go crazy. They was going to take my phone away, you know, and text messages was the same kind of thing. So you had to talk after 7:00. It was free to talk to anybody after 7:00. So it was a good way of kind of compartmentalizing like your time. Like it's not like you could spend all your time focused on somebody, but we still found a way. And we would be on AOL Messenger and Yahoo Messenger because they had games. So it was like we would be on MySpace looking at pictures and shit like that. And then we would be on AOL Messenger and Yahoo Messenger just talking about whatever the hell was on our minds. I don't know what the hell was on our 15-year-old minds. Probably bullshit. You know, TV shows and shit that was going on with the family and you know, but I just remember it was just so nice to talk to somebody about my feelings, you know, and about things that I cared about. And we had some really deep ass conversations too. Even though we was 15 and 16, we was talking good shit. You know what I'm saying? We was talking about spirituality and, you know, history and culture and all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like it was the first time I had ever felt connected to someone who I felt like I was a part of. And what I started to realize was that these feelings were love. They slowly developed into love. I knew I was in love with this little girl, little puppy love. Christmas came around and I had put together the most intricate ass little Christmas gift to give her. It was like a big ass box. I'm talking about like as big as a human being. Like had to been like 4 feet tall. And inside of that box was a bunch of newspaper and wrap and shit. My mother helped me do it. My mother was a real nigga for that too. Helped me put together this box. And then I put in a smaller box. And in that smaller box was like a bunch of shit like her favorite chips and her favorite candy and some other shit. And then inside of that box was another smaller box. And in that smaller box was like some sort of inside joke that we had that was like a little note or something like that with some funny shit and some other little gifts. And then inside of that box was an even smaller box. And that box had like this little alligator from a locker that we was in it. And I guess it was a little stuffed alligator that she had thrown out of the locker into the back stairwell. And she didn't know that I had a second one. So I painted the eyes red. And I was like, he came back to get you. And she was confused. Like, how the hell did you actually find that? You know, and there's no way I could have found it because it was gone. But I just wanted to freak her out. And under the alligator was a really small little box. And it was a necklace. And the necklace had a cross on it. And, you know, her family was real religious. So I knew that was special to her. You know what I'm saying? She done had my ass in church. My black ass did never go to church growing up. You feel me? Now, don't get me wrong. I was definitely spiritual. You know what I'm saying? I was spiritual as hell. But I was never personally like religious, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Even though my grandmother was a minister and, you know, head of all theological studies at Howard University and everything like that. I was under the belief that there's a little bit of truth to everything. So I was more interested in learning about, you know, Hinduism and Islam and Judaism and all these other things as well as Christianity without the very strict, you know, Jesus is our only Lord and Savior type shit. You know what I'm saying? And her family was definitely that. But for her, I was taking my ass to church. And more important, because she really sold me on the shit. Like, you know, like my minister's really cool. He's like a youth pastor. And, you know, he's just, you could be an atheist and come to our church. He just talks good stuff. Like he makes it real relevant. And it was a thing. Me and my mother actually really fucked with that church. You know what I'm saying? We really used to go through that junk and We was kind of pimping the system. I'm not gonna lie. By the time them tithes was coming around, we was out. But yo, Zayna got us there, to say the least. You know what I'm saying? So I got her this big ass present. It was serious. And I'll never forget, this is a side story outside of the love aspect, right? But I remember when we went to drop off this Christmas present, she had gave us the address, and me and my mother put it in the GPS. And she lived in Bowie, and we had came and drove up to the crib in Bowie. And I'll never forget, this shit looked like a goddamn mansion. Like, it was the biggest house I had ever seen. I was like, damn, this is where she lives? And it's funny because as we were pulling up, I remember looking at my mother, and my mother had the same look that I had. And I could sense every bit of, like, my mother starting to get insecure, like, as if in some way or form maybe she had, like, failed, or we weren't doing as well as them or something because we were struggling. And I remember me and my mother shared a moment, and I was just like, don't worry, Ma, it's okay. And she knew what that meant. It was just like, we good. Like, we don't need none of this shit. We good. We with exactly what we have. We have family. We have love. We cool. You know what I'm saying? It's just they doing a little better off. It's not that deep, you know? But I walked in that junk proud as hell with my big ass box, bigger than my body. I couldn't even. And I walked it into the living room and put it in one. I felt like they had 2 living rooms or some shit, but put it in there, whatever. Said hi to her mother, gave her a hug, and rolled out. You know, tried to keep it G. Yeah, I'm not gonna stay long. I'm about to roll out. But she loved it, and I remember I really, really loved that girl. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's more important, especially as I'm unpacking this stuff for this episode, to talk more about the positives of my experiences in any type of love than negative, because I don't think the negatives are relevant. You know, people are supposed to be in your lives for seasons to teach you things, and then you grow from them. And, you know, it's funny because by the time that we did break up, there was a lot of little things like, you know, I think there was like embarrassment on my end because people were like, you guys were so cute. I thought you were going to get married. You know, we dated for just under a year. We was 1 month away from making it to like a year. So, you know, you 15 years old, a year is like you've been dating for 20 years or some shit. It's just unrealistic. But, we were supposed to learn from that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it was really me overreacting. Like, she was like on some, like, we should take a break. And I was like, a break? We're going to take a break. You know, we might as well break up. I know what that means. You're not about to play with me. And she was kind of like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. That's weird. That's awkward. Relax. You're doing a lot. And I was all distraught and heartbroken and everything else like that. But I really just overreacted. But like I say, it was never anything really negative. I think it was more in self-reflecting. It had everything to do with this idea that I wasn't affectionate enough, even though I did nice things. Like, I was into big gestures like that, right? Something like a big present or whatever and everything else like that. On the day to day, it wasn't like I was holding hands or super cuddled up or whatever. It was literally like as if it was kind of like, you know, like we're best friends, like we're friends who kiss, you know, like and when we do kiss, it's not like a all the time kind of like really passionate kind of thing. And as a kid, I didn't really understand that. I just felt like you're my favorite person to be around. Like, why wouldn't I want to be with you type shit, you know? But for women, it's a lot more about passion and those feelings really being drawn out into something that resonates with like a desire, you know? I didn't know nothing about that shit. I was innocent as hell. I was a goddamn wide-eyed, big afro having kid, you know? It was doofy. So it was the first time type of thing, you know? And she shouldn't have had to take as much initiative as she did. You know, I never forget, even our first kiss was literally on some like, I was taking too long. So leaving out of math class one day or whatever, she literally kind of like called me at the locker and pushed me up and gave me a kiss. And I was just like, whoa. She kissed me. Oh shit. You know what I'm saying? But like, I should have been the one pursuing to kiss her. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the romantic shit. I didn't know nothing about no goddamn romantic shit. I was a late bloomer. You hear me? Them years of private school kind of fucked me up a little bit from the shit that I guess other people was learning in public school at that time. In some ways, it probably also made me a nice person, the person everybody loves, not having to go through those experiences. But, you know, that was the thing. And then from there, that, without, like I said, I don't want to talk about all the negative things, right? But what I would say is that I did go through a transition process. And when I was dating my first love, there was a dramatic shift that happened. Because up until that point in my life, I hung out with my cousin Rashid damn near every day, especially once we had went to St. Jerome's together. Oh, you couldn't separate us, you know? We was at the same school. We used to walk home from school every day and spend every afternoon and evening. This is my best friend. This is my rock, my nigga. This is my nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we was all excited, like, oh, we going to the same high school. This is about to be crazy. You know, he was already there a year before me, and I was in public school again and for 8th grade or whatever. And when I came as a freshman, we were hanging out, and then all of a sudden, I got this girlfriend, and most all of my time and energy was going towards this girlfriend. And me and him just wasn't as close anymore for that one time period. And it was like, damn, that's crazy. Like, it was the first time I had ever experienced, you know, if you ever got one of your mans who every time they get bunned up, they just disappear off the face of the fucking earth. Like, that was me. And I always felt guilty about it. Like, damn, man, I left Rashid hanging for a girl. That's crazy, you know? But it was just what felt natural, I guess. And I guess by the time we broke up, me and Rashid started trying to hang out again more often. But he had kind of developed his own friends in the process. And I had my own other little friends in the process. And we still would hang out more than not. But it wasn't the same as like being inseparable. Like, you see him, you see me type shit, you know? And it was wild because then you go through this process of like trying to cope with the breakup. I had never felt like inherent like sadness before, like heartbreak, like, damn, I feel empty in some way. I always felt fulfilled because you had nothing to compare it to, you know? If you've never had a girlfriend or you never had any expectation of a girl liking you, then there's nothing to compare it to. You're just good with whatever the norm is, playing football and video games and whatever else. But then once you get that feeling, it's like, damn, you keep chasing that feeling again. And actually, I think that's really what it was, because I was rebounding with a specific person, and I remember she kept popping up at my locker, like at the point, like it was, okay, hold on, long story. So basically what happened was there was this girl, I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to embarrass anything or whatever, and I don't know who still listens to this shit or whatever, who I still have from high school, but basically it was this one girl who I was dating for like a very, very small temporary moment. And what ended up happening was that I kind of told her the truth that I was like rebounding with her because I felt bad about it. And I was recognizing that I was trying to replace something that wasn't there naturally. And she was like super duper hung up about it and like broken up. And it turned into this whole dramatic situation. almost, her friends was like trying to get me jumped and some more shit. And I was like, damn, like I had went to her brother and everything ahead of time. Like, look, bro, I just want to tell you what's going on. This and that. It was nothing but love and respect. But she was just so like caught up on it. And then she was trying to like be my friend, I guess, to like, friend zone her way back in or whatever. But I was like, yo, we not that. And specifically what ended up happening that kind of fucked me up was that she used to pop up at our locker every day. My cousin was a senior and I was a junior by this time, or going to be a junior, I guess, whatever the case may be. And she just used to pop, and we were supposed to share lockers, you know what I'm saying? Me and was looking forward to sharing lockers. And she popped up at the locker every single day looking for me, but trying to make my friends into her friends. So what ended up happening was that I kind of stopped hanging out with Rashid, and that always blew me. And you're not really supposed to let family ever, like nothing's supposed to come in the way of family. So I always regretted it because I felt like that was the real starting point of where me and Rashid stopped hanging out as much. And it really hurt me a lot. So I was moving on. So I was dating, and I guess I dated a couple of different girls along the way. And none of them was really quite right for me. I was always seen as too nice, and I was going after these girls who in my mind I thought maybe would be like an upgrade, but how can you upgrade from someone that you like so much that you feel like you love them? So it for good reason, it's one of those things like, damn, how do you replace that? And I was trying to replace that with superficial shit. So I was out here trying to date women. No offense to anybody who I've ever dated in the past, but now that we got damn near 30, that if we dated, we didn't really date. Like a couple little months or a month or 2 months, 1 month, that don't really count for real. We was getting to know each other. We was experimenting. We was exploring. But I was looking to date women who exclusively were just beautiful. That was it. This was before the term "you cute ma," but what else? You know what I'm saying? Like, this was definitely some like, damn, she fine. I want her as a trophy. And I think it's because I was looking at my cousin Trey, and like my cousin Trey had all of the finest women I had ever seen. And it was funny because like, not only that, he was short too. So I used to be looking like, how is this short ass nigga get these fine ass, beautiful ass dime pieces? God damn, that nigga got swag. Like, and he could dress, and he was like the coolest nigga ever. It was like, he was the most confident person ever. And I knew that I suffered with self-esteem. So I wanted to be like my cousin Trey, but I was faking it. I wasn't as confident as I was faking to be. And any woman who started to date me in the beginning during that time period quickly found that out. And as soon as they did find that out by getting to know me, realized that we didn't have anything in common. And we usually ended up breaking up, And it was never like a breakup based on this idea that, we got into arguments or I was doing anything wrong. It was always the same justification. I just feel like you're really nice, like you're super nice, and I just feel like I'm going to end up hurting you, and I don't want to hurt you. Like, you deserve someone who's really going to appreciate you for, who you are, this nice person. And I was just like, God damn. The first couple of times it was like, all right, yeah, that's cool. I guess so. And then it happens to you about a third time or a fourth time, and you like, ho. Do y'all think I'm sweet or what? Like, what's the problem? Like, y'all out here trying to make it seem like I'm trying to get married like tomorrow or some shit, and I'm confused because, nigga, I know we not no full ass grown adults like we ain't about to. But I think the thing is that there's a caliber of, I'm trying to think of the way to phrase it. Women know when you're not gonna fuck something up. And when you're young like that, I think a lot of times women want the rebellious dude. They want the dude who is more of a badass, or not even that, just confident. I wasn't confident. I'm not even going to do that to the sisters like that. I'm not going to do that to the ladies and put it on them. I'm going to put it on me. You know, they want somebody who's confident, and I wasn't confident. So all that other shit don't even matter for real. But I wasn't confident. Even if I guess I started to be seen as cute. What is that worth if the person doesn't think that they're cute or doesn't think that they are attractive or whatever, you know? And it was reading all over me. So, you know, I really suffered with that. And it was kind of traumatic for me that in so many instances, I was getting this same response that was like, you're just too nice. Like, you're so nice. And then it was like someone could break up with me, and then all of a sudden it was less than a short amount of time afterwards, they was dating somebody else. And I was like, damn, really? Like that? Like, you just moved on that quick? You know what I'm saying? Like, you start to cope in a different way where you like, fuck it, I don't care. Like, I have no expectations of anybody. And it put me in a position to just try to keep a more open mind about how I dated. And I started dating with intention, like on the tip, like anybody can get a chance as long as you're nice, as long as you are respectful and you communicate in an honest way. And that was how I started looking at the people who I wanted to date. And I guess my type maybe changed. I was always dating different type of girls. There was a girl named Worm. That's her nickname. That's what I call her, at least. And we're still friends to this day. She actually just got married, and I'm so happy for her. It's weird because to this day, we still share this kind of love that's like unconditional love. You know we don't want to be together. We know that it's not written in the stars for us in that kind of way. But I love the shit out of that woman. Like, I genuinely want her to be okay. I just do. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. The same for me. Like, it's like I need to know that she's happy in her life. You know what I'm saying? Because she's just a good person. And that's something that you just never lose respect for. You know what I'm saying? And her partner understands that. And that's her partner, cool as a motherfucker too. She just a good person all around. You know what I'm saying? But that true unconditional love, that true real, like, yo, I just actually genuinely want you to be happy, which is what all love should be. But that's what exists in that kind of way. And I just remember I call her Worm because she was like a bookworm. She used to read and shit all the time. And she was like a poet and all this other type of shit. One of the most like artistic people I had ever met. And she was just beautiful as hell. She was just cool. You know what I'm saying? She was different. I had never met no person like that before. And that felt more genuine for me than trying to date women based purely off of beauty and purely off of like this idea of them being like a trophy, like trying to follow in the footsteps of what I thought my cousin Trey was doing. Because I don't know what he was actually doing. He might have had the best connections ever with these women. All I knew was that these women he was dating was fine, like IG model fine. You know, I wanted that. I was like, shit, I'm trying to boss up, you know, but that wasn't really for me. I needed to fuck with somebody who was genuine, somebody who was thorough, you know, and that was how I started looking to date. And through the process of that, there was a lot of different friends, like genuine friends in different moments who would recognize that I was kind of on this type of tip, like that they kind of were attracted to me or whatever. And they liked the fact that I was nice or whatever. And those are the people I probably should have gave the time and attention to in a dating realm. But I always just looked at them as friends, and I never wanted to ruin it because I was like, I've always appreciated the fact that a good friendship is worth so much more than a relationship, you know? And I ended up meeting someone who I never thought that I would date. And this was like my first ever real relationship, you know? Up until then, I had one other situation that was kind of real, but it wasn't as real. It was more like it was a friendship. In fact, it was my best friend for years. And we had this weird kind of like love relationship where it was like sometimes I liked her and sometimes she liked me. And every time that we ever tried to make it a thing to like work it out, we was never on the same page. And then eventually I gave up. And then after I had gave up, it's like she wanted me to come back and fight. And it was just so much. But, that I don't even want to talk about all of that because that's still a little sensitive, honestly. But eventually I let that go completely in a way. But maybe in some sense, there's a part of me that used to want to think like, was that the one that got away? And I realized there's no such thing as a one that got away because what's for you is for you. And, it's not like we can't see each other today. And it's just that's not necessarily the energy that I needed in my life at this time. Or maybe even going forward, But this other situation was with someone who went to school with me, and she was 2 years younger than me. And to my understanding, she was a lesbian. But I just thought she was so interesting because she used to wear like these Invader Zim pins and shit. And she dressed kind of like goth. And like, it was just different. I had never met nobody. I loved Invader Zim, by the way. Like growing up as a kid and as a even as a teenager, like Invader Zim was my shit. Me and my cousin Rashid, that was our shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we loved Invader Zim. It was so funny to us. And apparently this girl hadn't even seen no damn Invader Zim. It was a part of, I guess, that goth kind of culture or whatever, but I remember that's what I used to talk to her about in passing in the hallways, Invader Zim and like little random shit and everything like that. But she was nice. She was cool. And I guess we started talking more and more about different little things in passing. And she was the only person I knew who was actually a model. And at the time I was learning filmmaking. So filmmaking and photography, I guess, or whatever. And I asked her to like model in my first ever shoot that I was going to try to do. And we just kind of kept in contact from there. And this was my first real love. I ended up dating this girl for about 5 years. And I don't know if you've ever just felt like spiritually connected to somebody in a way that didn't feel real. It's scary. This episode's gonna go a little long. I already know this now. This show might be an hour 30 because we at an hour 10 right now, and I'm kind of low key just getting started. But it's about the unpacking. It's not about the presentation and the listeners. It's about me unpacking these nostalgic memories and figuring out how I got to where I'm going right now. And with her, to my understanding, I thought that she was a lesbian and she thought that she was a lesbian. So it was kind of confusing when we were hanging out as friends. I was in a good space where I wasn't looking to date anybody or anything like that. And we just was so connected, and I really liked her and she really liked me a lot. And it was kind of like, so what do we do with this? Because you like girls, like, I thought you don't even like guys like that. And she was like, I don't, but I like you. And it was like the first time I was ever dealing with like, we were confused. We was like, so what do we date? Like, if we do date, people will know. And that's kind of weird because like everybody knows that you're a lesbian, not like, and then we started to realize that labels didn't matter. It was just about whatever we felt for each other. And we started to date and we didn't stop dating for like 5 years. It was like, that was really like my like soulmate to some extent. And what I mean by that is like, I've never felt so tightly knit to someone. Like it felt like we've known each other in past lifetimes. Like we've done this multiple times over. So much though that like, I'm gonna tell y'all some wild shit about this relationship. This is my first real love situation, like adult type relationship. This woman always lived like 10 minutes from me, walking distance, our entire lives, but we never knew each other until high school, for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild in itself. Also, I kid you not, this girl was actually my very first ever girlfriend. And I know that sounds random, but I'm going to explain how. When I first moved to New Carrollton and I was going into the 3rd grade, there was a summer that we had first got there, and I was at this little summer camp. And it was at this school, Robert Frost. And I'll never forget, I'm at this summer camp and I don't know anybody. And my oldest brother, his 2 best friends had like went to the summer camp, so he was straight. Not my oldest brother, my middle brother, Rob. You know, his friends was going there, so they was straight. I had to like meet people and make friends, and I just didn't know anybody. So I was sitting, and there was this one little girl who used to sit there and eat her lunch with me or whatever. And she kind of became my little friend or whatever. But she expressed that, you know, we played together and everything else like that. And then one day randomly, she's like, "You want to be my boyfriend?" And I was like, okay. I didn't even know what that meant. It was just like, you know, sure. I didn't even know who this girl was or how old she was. She was in the 1st grade. I was in the 3rd grade, basically. But she seemed nice, seemed cool, or whatever the case may be. And I remember, this is how irresponsible like camp counselors and stuff like that. They were like, you like her? That's your little girlfriend? Like I don't know. Remember, she in the 1st grade, bro. You in 3rd grade? That's weird, bro. That's weird. Like as if we was like sexual or something. Like they just over sexualized. It's weird. I never forget that shit. But it made me really insecure because I didn't want to be seen as like, you know, on some R. Kelly shit or something. So in the 3rd fucking grade, right? Like why do I even know who R. Kelly is? But yeah, so I just kind of ghosted her. But this was like my best little friend who I used to hang out with every single day and eat lunch with, and the only person I played on the playground with. And I just completely ghosted her and disappeared on her. And I never forget, the only thing I remember was that she had wrote her initials in a little heart or whatever the case may be in the mulch. And it was L.A. And we were talking about this shit one day when we were dating and we was at my house. And she sat there and she started to kind of like tear up, and I was laughing. I was like, what? She was just like, that was me. And I was like, get the fuck out of here. And then it made sense. Her name was Lenora Ashby. And I said, get the fuck out of here. I'm in a relationship with my first ever girlfriend. What the fuck? Life is crazy, bro. Like life is really wild. And it was so much genuine love. Like everything that we was on was so silly and goofy, and you know, it was real. Like, but the universe wasn't there for us in that way. Like I don't think Leos and Tauruses are supposed to date, and we knew that, and we really tried to defy nature as best as we could for like a long time, but we just couldn't be nature, you know? Like, it's a lot of ego shit and a lot of like, you know, like, she's a lion. A lion wants to see you roar and flex just to show that you got it, you know? I'm a bull. A bull doesn't fuck with nobody. We just mind our business. But if you do fuck with us, them horns will come out. But we don't know how to turn them motherfuckers off. We'll fuck everything up. You know what I'm saying? So it's real dangerous for a lion who's all about ego and wanting to see them horns come out to just to see them. You know, that shit could get you into some shit. And it was a lot of little moments like those that really wasn't healthy. And no matter how much we tried to defy shit, it got to a point where I had to recognize what was healthy for me, and we ended up not being together. I won't get into the details of shit, but I'll say that there was some infidelity present, and she didn't try to lie about it or nothing like that. And I could forgive that. What I couldn't forgive was what came after, which was like the manipulation. But once again, I think the infidelity was a byproduct of my not being, I can't say affectionate enough because I was damn sure affectionate, but it was like not being that like alpha male ass, like, you know, flexing on them type of nigga. That's just never been my style. Like, I'm more laid back, I'm more chill, but you know, I was cheated on, and that fucks with your confidence in a lot of ways. And it kind of put me in a position where I was like, I'm not fucking around. I ended up being single for like 2 years after that on some chill shit. You know, I was still doing my thing. I was kind of fucking around, but I was very honest about people I dealt with during that kind of in between time. I was very like, you know, yo, it is what it is. This is not anything more than that. Like, and then when I got to the point where I started to heal from that and I just wasn't looking, then I met who I thought was going to be my everything, my person, you know? And that was my most recent relationship that most people still know about to this day, and that's Tasneem. You know, I've dealt with it really well, given the circumstances. I think we're real logical. It's like we were really like best friends, like real genuine best friends. The thing about it is when I met Tasneem, like it was purely like infatuation. Like it was just like, yo, I've never met a woman this beautiful before in my life, ever. I just remember learning so much from her and teaching her, and we just learned so much from each other. It was like a real like partnership. And it was kind of my second attempt at love as an adult. It just felt like some shit I hadn't felt before ever, you know? And by no means was it perfect, because we definitely had our ups and downs. It was probably the first relationship I ever argued in. And, you know, we done broke up and got back together and broke up again and got back together. And because she crazy as hell, you know, she really is. She knows it. But that's why I love her, because she's just wild, man. Like, it felt like what a real adult relationship feels like, just completely imperfect. In a lot of ways, you want to punch each other in the fucking face, but you can always get back home. You can always get back to the basics and communicating. That's what I think our season was about, learning how to communicate and be patient with each other, or with a partner in general, you know. There's so much. I feel like I don't have to talk too much about that relationship because it was so public. I don't have beef with any of my exes, not a single one, you know. There's one ex in particular who I don't speak to at all, and that's only based on, you know, it was a little bit of manipulation and disrespect at the end that I couldn't really fuck with. But even then, I still wish her the best, you know. But the thing is, this episode is called Love is Love, because it really is all love. You feel me? Like, if you can't hate somebody that you've loved, you can really not like them. But I don't think you can really hate them. Or at least I can't. I shouldn't speak for other people, but I know I can't. It's not in me. It's not in my blood to hate somebody who I know I've shared. That's like saying we shared all of these thousands of positive experiences and memories together. And the one bad thing that transpired discredited all of that. It's about relinquishing control. It's about letting go and letting God, you know? In some instances, you really got to just move with blind faith and know that, like, yo, when something is for me, it's for me, and I don't got to question shit. I'm always taken care of. You know what I'm saying? I had one of the best relationships, two of the, really all of them, but my two adult relationships that both lasted 5 years plus, the best relationships you could ever ask for. I had a fucking blast, you know? Why would I be spiteful or bitter about the way that things ended or the way that things unfolded unless I was just trying to be in control? But I'm not in control of all this type of shit. Like, God orchestrates that. There's 7 billion plus people in the world. We are 1 and 2. You telling me that you were supposed to be this one person who was orchestrated perfectly in every way that nobody else can compare to, and I just got that right off the first try or the second try? And there's 7 billion plus people in the world. I just don't think that's very likely. And I don't think that it's logical to get so hung up on it when it doesn't end up being the way that you expected it should have been. You know? And some people may call that coping. I just call that processing. I think it's like I've had more than enough time to think on it, feel on it, process it, and consider my outlook. And this is genuinely how I feel, you know? I can't, those experiences that I had can't be stripped from my memory bank or from my heart, you know? They only add to what I'm going to bring to the table going forward when I do it all over again with someone new, when the time is right, when God deems that, yeah, this is a thing again. You know, here's another woman who you genuinely connect with on some level. And the only thing that I can do is learn from those past experiences and the things that they fell short on, unfortunately, you know, and say, okay, well, this time around, let me not make the same mistakes twice, you know? I want somebody who's going to match my energy. I want somebody who's going to be confident in themselves and in me. I want somebody who's going to see the best in me. I want somebody who's going to whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? Whatever the things that you want, like. And I'm not going to sit up here and lie, because I know there are people who may listen to this and it doesn't feel realistic, you know? It doesn't feel realistic not to be bitter or not to have expectations. But, you know, it's like, what makes me so special? I know what makes me so special, but what makes me so special that, like, I should have been the 1 in a million that somehow didn't have to struggle through love. Anything worth having is worth fighting for or waiting for. And when you fight for it and you wait for it and both still don't work out, and it's like at a certain point you're fighting against yourself, you know? But I try not to be a pessimist in relationship to love, because at the end of the day, like, love is just such a valuable feeling. Like you can't, if you've never been in love before, I don't know how to describe it other than just feeling secure and excited and motivated and happy and proud to be someone's other half in some regard. I'm sitting here in front of my desk recording this. Is Brown Sugar and Love Jones posters right in front of me. And those are two of my favorite movies because I'm a fucking sap. You know? Me and my best friend from back in the day, our connection was based on the idea that we were hopeless romantics. And she used to always correct me and say, not hopeless, we're romantics. Because we're hopeful. And not only hopeful, but we know it's coming. Because we know what we bring to the table in whatever capacity, you know? And that's real. That's real. So I give all credit and all praises and all blessings and love and light to everybody I've ever dated in some capacity, because they are who they are individually, and they're going to be the best versions of themselves for that correct partner who they're supposed to share their shit with. You know what I'm saying? And we had our time, and it was beautiful, and I loved it. I loved every bit of it. You know what I'm saying? And I hope they wish the same for me. And for most of them, I know that they do, you know? But what I have to focus on is that healing aspect for me, and healing my self-esteem issues, you know? It is I have to be easier on myself about the way that I was introduced to things. I wasn't talked to about sex, you know? My parents, my brothers, I had 2 older brothers and a father and a mother, and nobody talked to me about sex. I just had to kind of learn it on my own. And fortunately enough for me, I've always hung out with more women than men. So my women friends are phenomenal, and they didn't make shit awkward. Just had honest conversations. We go and explore and figure this thing out together. What's this? What's that? Why this? Why that? How are you affected by this? Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't introduced to this idea of hypermasculinity where like you go up and try to get every girl that you can just because you can. Cause my father wasn't a fucking meathead. And I don't know what my oldest brother was, but to my understanding, he wasn't a meathead either. He just was a smooth ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? And it was more about, in our family, it was always about respect for women. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, my introductions were different to things that other people were kind of just jumping into head first and just rolling with the punches on, and have kind of still been in that cycle till this day as a grown ass adult, you know? So I have to figure out for myself, because I've done work on my self-esteem a couple of times now, and I keep coming back to the same spaces where I question if I'm good enough. I question if I am attractive enough. I had this whole thing when we first broke up, and I was like, you know, I want to change up my body. I want to change up and be on some like muscular shit and some healthy type shit and everything else like that. And I'm also finding out that, like, you know, women like niggas with a little bit of, you know, big boy type shit or whatever the case would be. I'm not the biggest nigga in the world, but I'm big enough, you know? But I also see the preference of the person who, you know, if we keeping it funky, which that's what I'm doing on this shit, the person who my ex deals with right now, I seen a nigga, I know he is muscular nigga with the physique and the whatever the fuck, you know what I'm saying? It could play into your self-esteem. It seems like every time I've ever been in a situation where I didn't feel like I was good enough, it's that kind of nigga on the other side. And it's kind of like, noted. So it kind of make you feel like, well, I got to go and be that. But I don't got to be anything the fuck other than what I am. You know what I'm saying? And what I need to do instead is work on that self-love, that confidence, that inner, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, man. It just, I know love is extremely possible, again, but I think it gets harder as you draw closer to your 30s. You know, you want things to be genuine. You want things to feel like you can organically meet somebody, not on a dating app, not on no forced type shit where you just fall in love with each other's possibilities, but like, yo, I just actually genuinely fuck with the shit that you fuck with. And on top of that, I'm actually attracted to you. And on top of that, we're sexually compatible. And on top of that, we spiritually compatible. And on top, you know, all these different kind of things. And you can genuinely come across someone who you just click with. And it's not going to take you 6 years to do it. When I'm about to be 30 and I kind of want to fuck with somebody my age, low key, because I'm not really with the young shit. Keep it a stack. You know what I'm saying? And by the time you're 36, pregnancy starts getting complicated and shit. And But you also don't want to rush into a situation where you just start having babies off back from the first time you meet somebody, because you got to spend the rest of your life with them. And it takes time to get to know somebody. It's a weird kind of space to balance, you know? But I know I want more than one kid. And I know I just really want to be a father, you know? I'm just being vulnerable through this shit. Like, one of the biggest things that was disappointing for me is the fact that, you know, like I said, we were looking forward to having children within a year and a half. It's sad when the other parts of what makes your partnership work don't really line up in the same type of way. So then that now is no longer an option on the table. But I'm still hopeful. I think I'm still trying to figure it out. Like I said, I'm trying not to be a pessimist, but I'm pretty sure that I still believe that it's possible to find that person who really does just want to coexist with me, fuck with me, love me genuinely, and we do this thing the right way, you know, with all the bells and whistles included. I'm a sap, man. I want to give my heart up. I want to be a provider. I want to make someone feel secure and all this other type of shit. I just don't want to have to build them up from the ground up. And I don't want to have to go so hard to have to prove myself against all the superficialities either, because of the fact that so many other niggas before me are fucked up. You know, I just want something genuine and organic. But I'm going to get it. We going to get it. You know, that's what I would say. And until that time comes, you know, I'm not looking too hard. I'm not pressing it. I'm just focusing on me and getting my healing together and putting my focus where it needs to be, and being the best student I can be, and being the best career man I can be, being the best uncle I can be, being the best servant of God that I can be, being the best brother, the best son. You know what I'm saying? I'm not looking for shit. And if it happens to present itself, I'm not running either. I got open arms, you know what I'm saying? But it just gotta be genuine. It gotta be organic. So, you know, that's all I've really got for y'all this time. Like I said, this episode's a little long, but sometimes it takes a little longer to unpack the real, you know what I'm saying? And for me in my life, love has been so real. So I'm wishing, I'm manifesting and affirming so much more love into my life going forward. And that's that on that. I'm going to just, you know, I'm going to pray and I'm going to let go and let God on it. And the rest is already done. We done spoke it into existence. So now it's just a matter of me being the best version of me that I can be going forward. And I encourage anybody listening to do the same for them, you know, because life is too short. But what's it worth if you don't got nobody to share it with, you know? Like I said, this is Back in the Days. I'm gonna catch y'all next time.
Some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was just a little nigga, bro. I looked up to my bigger bro, begged if I could kick it. So when he went out with girls, I could go tagging along, nagging. If she had a sis, maybe could mac a baby hood rat. Y'all remember way back then when it was 1985 all the way live.